Greetings, one and all, and welcome to episode number 37 of Thoughts and Hunches Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches. Your boy Stoney is back for the 37th time. And I want to welcome all my fellow hustlers, scumbags, lowlifes, hoodlums, degenerates, fienders, all of you. You want to know why you're back for the 37th time? Because you can't get enough. Because your boy's on fire right now, and nobody can stop me. This train is rolling right down the tracks, and now's the time to jump on board. I told you all this last week. Nobody listened. I had a couple of two mediocre weeks to start the season. Last week, I just turned it up and belted it out of the park and made everybody money. Season 2, Episode 4, Thoughts and Hunches. Let me run down some numbers real quick. Last week, we had our first really good week in college football. We went 11-7, which is 61%. We'll take that every single week, right? That's a solid week any way you look at it. And we could have ended right there and not even touched the NFL. Then the NFL rolled around and your boy dropped a 10-1 in your face. Has anybody ever done that, given you 11 picks to start in advance before the game start, 11 picks, and hit 10 of them? No, nobody has. You know why? Because I do it, and I deliver, right? 21-8 last week. Try to touch that. Anybody. I dare you. I dare anybody in the world to give me 29 picks and try to go 21-8. Can't be done, right? Well, I proved it can be done because I'm like that. And I got it like that. And I'm going to continue to keep it like that. So jump on board, like I said. Now, before we move on to the picks for this week, let me, quick news, right? Real quick. Aaron Rodgers, okay? Aaron Rodgers is worse than Kevin Durant when it comes to reading all the likes and dislikes and comments and everything from everybody. If one person says something bad about him, he says, everybody's talking poorly about me, and everybody's, okay, now, after week 1, when he laid an egg, and they got beat up by an inferior New Orleans team, sorry, I'm watching the Giants just roll Colorado right now, because my Giants have a magic number of 9, going to be 8 after tonight. Buster just got an RBI single. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers seems to think that the whole world's against him after he laid an egg in week 1 against New Orleans, right? Now, I've been critical of Aaron Rodgers, and I'll always be critical of Aaron Rodgers because I think he's overrated. And here's why I think he's overrated. Because I think he's got the narrative backwards. He seems to think everybody hated on him, and he redeemed himself on Monday night by beating a really, really bad Detroit Lions football team. My take is I think he's overrated. Every single one of the talking heads on ESPN, on Fox, on the radio, the Jim Romes and Clay Travises and everybody, the guys that I listen to religiously, they fawn over Aaron Rodgers like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Top 5 quarterback in NFL history. No. Not even top 10. Okay? There are a lot of quarterbacks in the 90s and 80s that I would have taken in a heartbeat over Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't count the obvious one like Montana, right? Everybody knows Montana is better than Aaron Rodgers, right? But Brett Favre. Would you take Brett Favre over Aaron Rodgers? Think about it. Would you? Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl ring. A lot of quarterbacks have won 1 Super Bowl. Brad Johnson's won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer have won Super Bowls. So ease up on the all-time great. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's not. 3 MVPs puts him in the Hall of Fame, even if he didn't win a Super Bowl. But he's got the Super Bowl. But he needs to win more, and he won't. What about Dan Marino? He never won a Super Bowl. Would you take him over Rodgers? I would. What about Jim Kelly? I'd take him over Rodgers. There's a lot of Elway. Elway got his Super Bowls later on, but yeah, sure. Those are all quarterbacks right there, just off the top of my head, right, that are better than him. And that doesn't count Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, right? I mean, I could go on, right? So, Steve Young. What about Steve Young? Would you take him over Aaron Rodgers? I would. He offers more to a team. So ease up on the Aaron Rodgers all-time greatness. Yep, he did pay off for us on Monday night, and I gave him to you as the lock of the week last week, and it delivered, and it just capped a brilliant week by your boy. So that's all. It was just a little more Aaron Rodgers hate, just to fire at you. You know, and to him if he's listening, which I know he's not, but who cares, right? Then again, knowing him, he might be, right? He might leave a comment and, you know, under a fictitious name, right? Like Kevin Durant does. Anyway, let's move on. We're already 5 minutes in. I haven't even gotten to the picks yet. So we're going to get to the picks. Ncaa football, all right? Saturday, Ncaa football. We went 11-7 last week to get our record right at the 500 mark. We're 24-25 for the season. We're one game under 500, right? And that's great considering where we started, right? 11-7 last week. I'll take that shit again this week, right? So let's see where we are. Tomorrow, Saturday, first game on the docket, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, Boston College against Mizzou. Missouri comes in 1.5 point chalk. They're 2-1. They have their one loss to UK, and Kentucky's a pretty good team. But Missouri's played two really bad teams and got 2 wins, right? They are a balanced team, right? Connor Bazelak, the quarterback, is starting to get things together, and Tyler Beatty, their running back, is no joke. They're balanced, and they've got a good defense, and they're a tough team. But BC at Chestnut Hill, I don't know, man. You know, granted, they're 3-0, and they've beaten Colgate, UMass, and Temple. So they haven't really showed anybody anything, but they're beating them easily, right? Phil Jerkovic, the quarterback, is starting to get things together, and Dennis Krozel, their senior back, is sick, right? So I like BC's defense. I like the way they control the clock. I like the way they don't turn the ball over. I like BC. Give me the 1.5. I'll take them at home in Chestnut Hill. Game 2, Wisconsin versus Notre Dame. This is a biggie. They're playing this one at Soldier Field. They were supposed to do it last year, but COVID knocked it out. This is also a 12 p.m. Eastern start. Wisconsin's number 18. They come in ranked 18th, 6.5 point favorites over the 12th ranked Irish. There's some shady lines going on, and there's going to be a lot of shady lines, especially when we get to the NFL. You'll see. I like the Irish, period. I'll take the 6.5. Wisconsin hasn't shown me anything, right? They're 0-6 versus ranked opponents, their last 6, right? They average 7 points per game versus ranked opponents and 38 points per game versus non-ranked opponents. What does that tell you, right? Their only loss was to Penn State, and Penn State's the truth. We know this. Notre Dame's 3-0, right? They only have one cover, and that was last week against Purdue, right, where they beat them up late to get that cover. But their first 2 games, they were kind of unimpressive, right? Well, they've won 4 of their last 5 against the Big Ten, right? Jack Cohn, the quarterback, is playing Wisconsin, where he transferred from, and I have a feeling he's going to have a big game. So give me the Irish and the 6.5 at Soldier Field. Game 3, also 12 p.m. Eastern Time. LSU versus Mississippi State. This one takes place in Stark Vegas, all right? They're both 2-1. Mississippi State lost to Memphis, and LSU lost to UCLA. Mike Leach versus Ed Orgeron. Give me Mike Leach all day long. If you're a retired government Bureau of Prisons worker who lives and dies by the Tigers in LSU and says "Go Tigers" and spells it Geaux, the most pretentious thing in the world, good luck to you, because the haters are there. The haters who talk shit about me and say that Stoney's weak, Stoney doesn't know what he's talking about. Then I drop a freaking 60 percentile, right? 60% on the season. Last week, 72%. Nobody does this, yet the haters continue to hate. So because of that, I'm going to bet against LSU the rest of the season. Give me Mississippi State. Give me Mike Leach all day long. The spread, by the way, LSU's a 2-point chalk. I'll take Stark Vegas +2 at home. Hail State. Go Dogs. Next up, we head to Jerry World. No, excuse me, sorry. Texas versus Texas Tech. This one's in Austin, right? We haven't hit Jerry World yet. We'll get there, though. Texas versus Texas Tech. Texas comes in 8.5-point chalk against Tech. Texas is 2-1. Their lone loss was a bad one to Arkansas. Hudson Card is starting to get things together at quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over, but Bijan Robinson, he's just the pimp for Texas. He does it all. The only off game he had was against Arkansas, and that's the game they lost. Right? Texas Tech, on the other hand, 3-0. Right? 2 cupcakes and a win over Houston. Right? Their run defense is solid. It's getting better, and they're going to shut down Robinson and force Hudson Card to beat him. They might. Texas will. I think Texas wins, but doesn't cover the 8.5. I'll take the Red Raiders in Austin on the road, 8.5-point road dog, Texas Tech. Next up, Louisville at Florida State down in Tallahassee. This is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Louisville's 2-1. Their only loss was to Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin's got Ole Miss ranked 13th right now, as they're resting up, getting ready for Bama next week, which will be a huge showdown. Florida State's 0-3. They're a complete mess. Now, the backers will tell you, well, they got to win now, otherwise Norvell's job is toast. Some might say his job's already toast. Well, until Florida State proves it to me, sorry, I'm just going to keep betting against them. Give me Louisville. Lay the 1.5. Next, we head down to Raleigh. ACC matchup, Clemson versus NC State. Clemson owns them in the conference and in their matchup. Both teams come in at 2-1. Clemson's only loss was to Georgia, but they're not covering numbers. They're not scoring. They're having a serious trouble after a 14-8 win last week over a Georgia Tech team that they should have beat by 3 touchdowns. They're in serious struggle mode right now. NC State, on the other hand, they're 2-1. Their only loss was to Mississippi State. Right? Zonovan Knight, their running back, is just, oh my God. Right? He's got it going on. Total workhorse, does it all. They run the ball, they don't turn the ball over, and they have a very underrated defense. So I like NC State. Give me the 10 points. That's too many points. I'll take NC State all day, +10. That's a winner. Next up, another 3:30 p.m. Eastern time start. We head to the Big House in Ann Arbor. Michigan Rutgers, 19th ranked Wolverines come in as 20.5-point chalk. That's 3 touchdowns. They're 3-0. Wins over Western Michigan, Washington, and Northern Illinois. The only good one was against Washington. But Michigan is quietly putting together a really good team, and they're doing it, like I said, quietly. Jim Harbaugh's built a hell of a defense. They're no joke. And their running back, Blake Corum, right now, in their 3-0 start, he's rushed for 111, 171, and 125 yards. So they're a running football team, and they beat you with defense. So that's a tough task for Rutgers to overcome. Now, Michigan's going to win this game, but will they win by 3 touchdowns? Rutgers comes in also 3-0, underrated also at 3-0. Texas Tech, Syracuse, and Delaware were their foes that they've knocked off. They have a ball-controlled offense. They have a solid, underrated defense. Not as good as Michigan's, but it's good enough to keep Michigan in the 30s. Michigan State wins this game 31-16. Rutgers gets the cover. I'll take it all day long. Scarlet Knights +20.5. Moving on. Another 3:30 p.m. Eastern start. Now we're at Jerry World. Number 7, Texas A&M versus number 16, Arkansas. Arguably the game of the day. A&M comes in as 5.5-point chalk. 5-point chalk. If you can get the hook, get the hook. If you like Arkansas. Arkansas's 3-0, right? Wins over Rice, Texas, and Georgia Southern. The win over Texas was impressive. They beat Texas down, and the game wasn't really that close. They have 6 different players with a rushing touchdown, which is number one in the nation. No other school has 6 different players that have a rushing touchdown. They play a stingy defense, and they're solid. A&M comes in, also 3-0, ranked number 7. Arkansas is number 16, by the way. A&M is number 7. They're 3-0. Their wins over Kent State, Colorado, and New Mexico haven't really been impressive, but their ball-controlled offense, above average defense, very, very good defense, and they're holding teams down. They're not allowing a lot of points. I don't know if Arkansas can score enough. Can A&M score enough to cover the 5? I say yes. I like the Aggies. I'm going to take the Aggies. I'm going to lay the 5 in Jerry World. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We head to Stillwater. Kansas State comes in, ranked 25th in the nation, to take on the hometown Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Okie State is laying 5.5. They're 3-0. They got wins over Boise, Tulsa, and Missouri State, and they've done it pretty well. I mean, the wins over Tulsa and Missouri State weren't very impressive, and there were some questions, but then they went into Boise and won on the Smurf turf last week. Winner, which I gave you. This is their 5th straight season they've started 3-0. Their running back, Jalen Warren, is legit, and they're going to have a tough time against K-State. K-State's defense is no joke. They're 3-0 also, with wins over Stanford, Southern Illinois, and Nevada. And none of those games were really... the Southern Illinois game was... They didn't play well, but they covered against Nevada and Stanford. Running back Deuce. The Deuce is loose at K-State. He does it all. And he's going to be too much for Oklahoma State, who has an improving defense, but Deuce Vaughn's going to run all over him. And K-State could win this game. You want to take a flyer, take K-State on the money line. But I'm going to take them plus 5.5 as road dogs in Stillwater. Another 7 p.m. Eastern start. Michigan State, 20th ranked Sparty. Yes, 20th ranked Sparty. Brandon Crawford just doubled. This is incredible. The Giants are just cruising. 7-2 in the 8th. Anyway, Michigan State ranked 20th. They're 5-point favorites over Nebraska at home. They're in East Lansing. And Nebraska's 2-2. Their losses were to Oklahoma and Illinois. Not bad losses, but Illinois was a team they should have beat. And their 2 wins were over cupcakes. So they haven't beaten anybody. Michigan State is 3-0 with wins already over Northwestern and Miami. Now, some might say, well, Miami's shit. They haven't, they're not looking good. Well, yeah, but Northwestern is always tough, and then they got to win over a cupcake also. So they're 3-0, but the key here is 2 keys. Kenneth Walker III, the running back for Michigan State, is just sick, right? Nebraska's going to have a hell of a time trying to stop him, and Michigan State's defense is what Michigan State has always been built on, and they're going to continue to do it. They're going to continue to get it done, and they're going to win by more than a touchdown. They're going to probably win by double digits. Michigan State lay the 5 at home over Nebraska. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. North Carolina, 21st ranked Tar Heels, head into Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta to play Georgia Tech. No, they're not playing at Bobby Dodd. They're playing at the Dome. UNC's 12.5-point chalk. UNC, did I say USC? Georgia Tech is 1-2, right? They lost to Northern Illinois. They beat a cupcake. Then they lost to Clemson, although they played Clemson tough last week and only lost 14-8 and played really well with that defense. Now, Carolina, on the other hand, right? They came in with high hopes and a number 10 ranking to start the season. Well, they lost their opening game, and they didn't really look good in doing so against Virginia Tech. But that is a conference game, and Virginia Tech is Virginia Tech. Just when you think they're shitty, they hang an impressive win on somebody, and they did that in the opener against Carolina. Well, since then, Carolina has been on a mission, and they've hung 50 on Georgia State and Virginia. Quarterback Sam Howell is starting to move up the draft boards. He will be playing on Sunday next season. And Sam Howell really has it going on. And now Tennessee had a running back, right, named Ty Chandler, right? He graduated, and now the graduate transfer is playing at Carolina, right? He has last week he went for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns against Virginia, and I just don't see Georgia Tech being able to bottle him up. So he should run wild. Even if they do bottle him up, Sam Howell's going to pick him apart. Lay the 12.5 in Atlanta, so lay the 12.5 on the road and take Carolina. They're going to win big. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Another one, what I might call the game of the day. Everyone else is going to laugh at me. Number 1 ranked Alabama at home in Tuscaloosa against Southern Miss. This is a glorified scrimmage. Bama's going to cruise. They're 3-0, right? They already got wins over Miami and Florida, even though they didn't cover last week, and they looked a little shaky down the stretch, although that game was on the road in the swamp, which is never easy. Well, this time they're at home. They're playing a team in Southern Miss, which already has losses to Troy and South Alabama. So Southern Miss doesn't stand a chance here. This is a scrimmage as Bama gets ready for Ole Miss next week, Hotty Toddy versus Roll Tide. That should be a good one. But in the meantime, Bama's a 45-point favorite. I'm going to lay 45 points. Yeah, I'm going to lay 6.5 touchdowns. Bama might hang 60 on him. All right, they're going to hang 50 on him. But I just don't know how Southern Miss is going to score, because Bama's defense is legit. And they're better than they were last year. Now, why am I picking this as the game of the day? Because I'll be in attendance. That's right. Your boy Stoney will be at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa tomorrow night in a luxury suite, because that's what you do when you deliver winners to people in their pockets. It's that simple, right? You deliver winners, you get to go to Tuscaloosa, and you get to go to the luxury suites, and you get to rock out. Roll Tide tomorrow, lay the 45. Next up, Colorado versus Arizona State, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. This one's in Tempe. Here's the thing. Arizona State is 2-1, and their only loss was to BYU, and they beat 2 cupcakes. Neither team has a statement win. Colorado played pretty well, or played very well, actually, against A&M a couple weeks ago, but they just keep getting worse and worse. I just don't see it. ASU is a 2-touchdown favorite at home, and I think ASU is going to roll. I think ASU wins this game by 3 touchdowns or more. Take the Sun Devils, lay the lumber. Finally, we move on to the Degenerate Special. Some of you love the Degenerate Special lately. Some of you haven't been loving the Degenerate Special. I'm 0-3 on the Degenerate Specials this year, so it's time to turn that one around. That seems like to be the only negative mark. Well, this time we've got a 10:30 p.m. Eastern start at the Mausoleum in LA. USC versus Oregon State. SC comes in as 11-point favorites. Oregon State's 2-1. Their only loss was to Purdue, and their 2 wins were against Hawaii and Idaho. Well, time to step up in competition, OSU. OSU isn't bad, but they certainly aren't good. Right? The problem with USC, right? They just had enough, right? They had enough with Clay Helton. After the loss to Stanford, they fired Clay Helton and they moved on. The interim head coach right now, Dante Williams. Players always seem to play well for an interim head coach, especially early on. I don't know why that is. They won last week. They blasted Washington State. Not much to write home about. And even again tomorrow, it's not much to write home about, but they're going to blast Oregon State at home. USC hangs 40 on them, and Oregon State will not reach 20. So SC's your winner for the Degenerate Special. So there you go. There's your college picks, right? Solid 14 picks right there, right? We're looking to go 9-5. I'll go 10-4, but 9-5 is what we're shooting for. So there's your college picks. Now we move on to NFL, Sunday and Monday. 19-3 in the NFL. Your boy is just dropping winners, right? NFL has never been my strong point. This year, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I can't miss. So I'm going to give you damn near every game. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I'm going to give you 13 NFL plays, and we're going to go rapid fire. Here you go. You ready? Game 1, Tennessee at home against Indianapolis. Tennessee's 1-1. They finally got King Henry going last week, and you saw what it did to their offense. Oh my God. If you don't like Derrick Henry, then you don't like anything about yourself or football. Indiana's a mess. They're 0-2. Indianapolis, they're a mess. They're 0-2. They have a brutal stretch to start the season. Toughest 3 games to start the season for any team in the NFL. I give them that, but Carson Wentz is out. They're a mess. They're not going to be able to score. Tennessee, 5.5 point chalk at home. Lay the 5.5. Titans win easily. Moving on, Washington versus Buffalo. They had the WFT. I still call them the Redskins. Washington heads into Buffalo, where Bills Mafia comes. Washington's 1-1. Bills Mafia is 1-1. Bills are 9-point favorites. Not a good performance in week 1. A very good performance in week 2 against a really, really banged up and struggling Miami team. The Dolphins will be struggling the rest of the season. If you know the struggling reference, you can comment on it, except for you, Danielle, because I know you know the reference. Anyway, Buffalo is 9-point favorites. I'm taking the Washington football team. Sorry, I'll take the 9. Moving on, Chicago heads into Soldier Field to play the Bears. Chicago heads into Cleveland to play the Brownies. Both teams are 1-1. The Brownies are 7-point favorites. I'll take the 7 all day long. Justin Fields is going to play. He probably won't play well, but this is a game that Cleveland can win in their sleep. They're going to overlook it, and they're ripe for the back door right here. So they can be up by 11 with 2 minutes left, and Justin Fields throws a meaningless touchdown to lose the game by 4 and get the cover. I'm going to take the Bears plus 7. So that's favorite dog. Game 4, another dog. Baltimore at home. Baltimore heads to Detroit as 7.5-point favorites. Baltimore's 1-1. Detroit's 0-2. Baltimore coming off a huge win, emotional win over Kansas City, which I also gave you. Had Baltimore on that one Sunday night. Big win. Anyway, Baltimore's 1-1, and this is another case of overlooking their opponents. 7.5, big number, backdoor. Detroit gets the cover, 7.5, another dog. Moving on, Chargers versus Kansas City. A lot of people think Kansas City bounces back after the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble cost them the game against the Ravens. Well, both teams are 1-1. Right, the Chargers lost the game that they shouldn't have lost, right, on a missed field goal, and the Chiefs are also 1-1. But the Chiefs just don't cover. Period. They just don't do it. Sorry, 6.5 points is too much. Give me the Chargers at home, home dog plus 6.5. Moving on, New England versus New Orleans. The Saints head up to Foxborough to take on Mac Jones and the really tough New England defense, which is getting better and better by the week. Both teams are 1-1. New Orleans rolled in week 1 and everybody was high on them, but New Orleans isn't very good this year. It's going to be a rough season. New England is no joke. New England might be a playoff team. New England's 3-point chalk at home. I'm going to take New England, and I'm going to lay the 3. Moving on, Pittsburgh at home against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 1-1. Joe Burrow seems to have turned a corner. He's starting to get things going, and Cincinnati's got a good young defense. And they head in to Pittsburgh, whose offensive line is a mess. They can't give Big Ben any time. They can't give Najee Harris Najee, not Najee. It's Najee. Anyway, Najee Harris can't run. Big Ben doesn't get any protection, and they're still 3.5-point chalk. I'm going to take the Steelers. Steelers to win by a touchdown or more. Lock of the day in the NFL. I like the Steelers. Yes. Moving on. Jacksonville versus Arizona. Arizona comes in high flying, 2-0. They're the talk of the league. Kyler Murray looks like an early MVP candidate. They're running well. They're throwing well. Their defense is legit. They're no joke. They're 2-0, and they head to play the worst team in the NFL, Jacksonville. The Jags are struggling, and they will continue to struggle. Urban Meyer bit off more than he could chew down there. Jacksonville's a mess, which is why I like Jacksonville. Take the Jags at home plus 7.5. Zona wins, but doesn't cover. 7.5, take the Jags. Next up, Jets versus Denver. The Broncos at home, 2-0. 10.5 point chalk against the Jets. Denver's going to cruise. They're going to make this game easy. They're going to win. Jesus, don't know what the hell's going on outside. Hopefully somebody didn't break into my house. Anyway, Denver's going to win. They're going to go to 3-0. The Jets are going to lose. They're going to go 0-3. But I like the Jets. Take the 10.5. That's way too many points. Zach Wilson, the best thing for him right now is to get out of New York. He can play in Denver, maybe get his teeth kicked in, but at least he can make some throws and not worry about being booed in New York after 2 games by his home crowd. New York, you're a disgrace. You always have been, and you're worse than Aaron Rodgers. All right? Fans of New York, I should say. Moving on. By the way, Jets plus 10.5. That's your winner. Moving on. Las Vegas Raiders -4 against the Dolphins, who are struggling. Dolphins 1-0. Raiders 2-0. 1-1. Raiders 2-0. Raiders are cruising right now. Raiders and Arizona right now are probably the 2 biggest, I don't want to say surprises, but they're the talk of the league for a lot of people that didn't think that both these teams would be 2-0 right now. And Derek Carr is looking like an MVP candidate. He's been unbelievable. And the Raider defense is showing some teeth, and they're better than most people give them credit for. This one could get ugly. Raiders at home, -4. This is lock number 2 in the NFL, my second highest play. Raiders win easily. Miami's a disaster. Tua's not going to play. And Jacoby Brissett's going to play, and the Raiders are going to bottle him up and win easily. And I don't know how Miami's going to stop Derek Carr. Tampa Bay versus the Rams. Everybody calls this the game of the day. Why? Because it's Brady versus Stafford? No. It's Tampa Bay versus the Rams, right? It's not this guy versus that guy. It's this guy versus that unit, and this guy versus that unit. Until Tampa Bay loses, they're still the champs. I'm going to take them. They're 1-point favorite on the road. The Rams, maybe a little too early for the Super Bowl hype. Oh, we love Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's the greatest. No, he's not. Not yet. Show me something. After 10 games, we'll, maybe we can start buying into him, but I'm not buying into him yet. Not against Tampa Bay, not against Brady, right? And Tampa wins, lay the 1. Moving on, Minnesota versus Seattle. Seattle comes in 1-1 after a heartbreaking loss, which they kind of gave. Well, I don't want to say gave, but they blew it down the stretch against Tennessee last week and lost in overtime. So they're 1-1, although they've played well. Russell Wilson is still Russell Wilson. Minnesota's 0-2. They're a mess. They're in trouble. Seattle's 2-point favorites. I'm going to take Minnesota at home, upset winner, money line pick also. Minnesota wins outright. Next up, Monday night, last game. Yes, I did skip a couple games, and I did skip that Sunday night game, and there's a reason why. But it's because I don't like either side. I think the smart bet is 49ers money line, but 3.5 or 3, that spread, I think that spread's going to land on 3. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not betting that game. Monday night, Dallas versus Philly. Dallas is at home, back Jerry World. Both teams are 1-1. Philly's not very good. Philly's overrated. They did play the 49ers tough, and they had an impressive week 1 win, right, where they just came out and they took it right to Aaron Rodgers. I was going to say Brett Favre. No, they didn't beat Aaron Rodgers. They won week 1, and it was impressive. But they lost. They lost last week, but they played the 49ers tough for 3.5 quarters, but just weren't enough. Jalen Hurts, I'm not sold on him. I'm sold on Dak Prescott. I'm sold on this Dallas offense. Dallas is going to score. They're going to score early. They're going to score often, and this one could get ugly. Dallas wins big on Monday night. Lay the 4. And there it is. There's your 14 NCAA plays and your 13 NFL plays. That's 27 more gifts I just handed you. Who else is going to give you 27 free picks? Free. I'm giving them to you. Take them and run with them. All right, that's it. 27 picks for the week. I'll take 16 wins. 16 and 11 is solid for me, and I'll do that every now and now. Anything more than that is just gravy. 15 and 12 is a winning week, but you don't really win a lot. So 16 wins is what we're shooting for, and we'll go from there. Quick shout outs before I move on. Shout outs to my two boys who follow my picks, who take my picks, and have been making money with my picks. The Mexican Machiavelli, my brother Simon down in Las Vegas. You're the man. Keep running with those parlays, and I'm glad I can make you money. And my boy Vinny B, who just makes that trip up to Tahoe or Reno because he loves it. He loves going over the hill because he's a degenerate. He's a fiender, and he watches my picks. He follows my picks, and he makes money with my picks. It's what we do. Last shout out is a double shout out to my boy the Gooch for hosting us tomorrow night in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. You the man, Gooch. You're my brother. You've always been my brother. You will continue to be my brother. But you got to take a back seat here to your daughter because I love your daughter more. Demi Gooch, you rock. You're the best. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Can't wait to party with you and go nuts in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Roll Tide. Demi and Gooch. You guys rock. Can't wait. That's it for the week. 27 picks. Let's do this. Let's continue to make money. And before we cut out, I just want to remind you that in order to make money, you got to bet money. Very simple. Next up, to me, the action is the juice. Whether you win or not, the action is all that it's all about, because that's all that matters. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And good luck to you, because on the seventh day, he made me.